Got it. All right. So for everyone listening in, welcome back to Seeing Red with Josh and Kevin. We are currently three match days into the 25-26 season. Josh, what has you seeing red?
Well, I mean, not a lot with us at the top of the table, but I think the natural thing is just this international break, 3 games into the season before the transfer window is even closed. It just it breaks the flow of everything. Players are going to travel. Some of them are going to like the ones who are going to South America or Asia are going to have 10-hour plus flights to go in either direction. They're going to play 3 games in 2 weeks practicing with different teams. They're going to rush to get back with only 1 or 2 games before the next one. And in many cases, they're going to come back to slightly different teams because the transfer window is still open. They're going to have to train and then they're going to have to go into another game. I feel like it just breaks the flow of what has turned, at least for me, being a very enjoyable season so far. And I think the same thing happened last year. I mean, we won our first 3 games, most notably 3-0 against United at Old
Fluke.
Trafford. Yeah, absolutely. That United team from last year was not the type of team to lose 3-0 at Old Trafford. Um,
Well, I mean, if
but
you couldn't do it in January against us, you couldn't do it in August against us. So what can I say?
I mean, we did. But we went then.
You might. Yep. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
us that
But I
one
mean,
time.
even that game, it was
Fluke.
before the international break. Um, like you signed Ugarte, but he couldn't play yet. So then he went off to go do internationals. Came back kind of late, and it took a while for him to integrate into the team. I mean, arguably he still hasn't, but that's more United issues
No,
than I'd
you're
like
you're you're
to.
spot on there in terms of like that breaking up the flow because it literally took him. I mean, we didn't even see him start to get to his best until like kind of the latter half of last season when he was actually there. He was really truly throughout the entirety of the game, winning the balls, winning those challenges, providing that crucial screen for the defenders. And so you got to, I think, nail on the head with that international break coming up because with all the, especially when it comes to new players coming in, they're just learning the system of whatever their respective manager may be, and just what Premier League style is if they're not used to the Premier League. So I think
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head there.
No, I mean, once again going back to last season when this break happened. I think our next game afterwards was Nottingham Forest at Anfield. We lost 1-0. I'm pretty sure that's the only game under slot that we haven't scored in. And a big thing for that was McAllister, Diaz, and Nunez. And I think Allison played, but the other three started on the bench because they had gotten back late from South America, and it was kind of unfair. And then, like that was Slot's first season, so even though we didn't make any signings, the players were still learning his system. But I think there are very few teams that don't either have a new manager or a lot of new important players. And like the season's getting started, I think if we look at every team that played the way they played in match week 1 versus the way they played in match week 3, I think by match week 3 we had a much better idea of who each team was because they'd started to get into a rhythm, and that's just completely broken. It's like
100%.
yeah, I think the two of us also because let's be honest, U.S. national team is not winning the World Cup. I think we don't care about international games
My
anywhere near.
beloved Poland is just going to qualify for the World Cup. We're going to play a couple games and then go out probably in the group stage of the upcoming World Cup. But
Yeah,
no, for real, it when you're extending it beyond just whatever your allegiance may be, looking at the actual players and where they have to go from the club you care about, just the sheer distance they have to travel and the demands that are put on the players, it's just absurd that you're going to ask them, hey, you're going to go away for this week and then you're straight back into Premier League action.
especially because a lot of the time these are like friendlies. Like, who cares? Um, yeah, no, that's
Same thing we
what's
brought up about the Club World
yeah,
Cup.
yeah.
Who
It's
gives a
just
shit? We
yeah,
don't.
it's the games that matter are better when everyone can play in them. And I think that actually that brings us to what you're seeing read about a little bit. Uh, So why don't you give us a taste of that?
So I know last time we talked about how I was cautiously optimistic for how the season would go. So
I've enjoyed it.
we are three Premier League games in, and we're 4 points from three out of a total possible nine.
How
So
many
in
points
terms
do
of the
we
Arsenal
have?
game, don't know. Anyway, so
You have
you
more
know
points than City.
we're three games. Yeah, I will take that. But so the thing is, we're three Premier League games in. United have 4 points. The first one was a 1-0 draw, 1-0 loss to Arsenal. The thing is, and what the social media, whatever was coming up about social media was like, is it ever okay to lose? I mean, it sucks to lose. It always does, especially to Arsenal. The fact that we were considered the better team from the general quorum of those on social media for the chances created. The stats will tell you one thing, and a lot of the people on social media, particularly Instagram, the trolls that reside on there, they were saying, Bayendier's bitching and moaning about his error that led to the Arsenal goal. And then if you watch the second half, you would have seen just the United players creating chance after chance and people not being able to put them away. And then, of course, we get the
I
draw against Fulham where it
I
was a
have
little
I
bit
have a
more.
hot take about the United Arsenal game that
Go
I
ahead.
think is I'm not sure you're going to take this too well, but I do think part of the reason that the game went that way was because Arsenal did go up early. And I think with Arteta's uh, call it charitably pragmatic play style, I do think that Arsenal, with an early lead, is rarely going to keep attacking. I guess they did against Leeds, but that's Leeds. Um, but like, I do think that they were trying to make sure that the chances you got were more
So you're
half
going like
chances than
kind of
full.
Mourinho-esque, like he's trying to park the bus back there to make sure is our defensive wall solid enough to withstand any chance to allow the opposition to get back in the game. Is that what you're going for?
So I'm just saying if they hadn't scored from that corner, I don't think you would have had as many scoring opportunities as you did.
I mean, that is tricky. I mean, because
Yeah.
he
Yeah, it's
Gyökeres just started, and then
yeah.
also Arsenal's been very recent. Last season, it was like, oh, we got just the scoring ability of Odegaard and the rest of the front that Arsenal may have had. They would want to put that on display. And also, if I'm Arteta and he's not won the league, he's certainly under the gun. We spoke about this last time where he's been quite a while without a trophy, and Arsenal fans, are they getting impatient whether or not? He's probably going to want to put attacking power on display
Yeah.
if I were him. Of course, can an
But
old dog
I mean,
learn new tricks?
you
That's
could
one thing.
go the opposite direction and say, "Oh, we haven't won. We have to stop trying to just play pleasing football. We have to just go for the most cynical and pragmatic approach possible." Because like I do think that I mean we're going to talk about Arsenal later, but I do think you look at the seasons they've been really good. They they were a lot nicer to watch in 22, 23
In
than
terms of creating those scoring chances, capitalizing on them,
yeah.
and actually like showing that they're going for it. I mean, honestly, I just have a very hard time sitting here and believing that Arteta is going to be here and trying to either one rest on laurels or he's going to sit back and defend if the team can attack. And so I think that was on display, the second half of the United game, like I said previously. I mean, if I were Arteta, if I were him, I would certainly be saying, okay, those goal scoring chances, make them, somebody get on the end of them, God damn it, because I think he's feeling it. The rest of the Arsenal players certainly know what's being said about them in the media or just amongst their fan groups saying we have to win a league, and unless you're Mourinho and it's 2004, you're simply not going to do that by sitting your sorry ass back.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I guess I think we'll have a better idea how to read that game when we've seen Arsenal play 10 games instead of three.
Absolutely.
Which unfortunately it's going to take more than 2 weeks to even see them play 4 games because of the stupid
Bingo.
fucking international break. And like they
And
could
then
lose even
yeah.
more players in the time.
Yeah, and that's actually what I saw today because I mean, yesterday United played Burnley. And I went down and watched that. We got a win. We got 3 points on the board. Great. And then what I saw was right on early in the game. I didn't watch it all the way through because I had some errands to go do, but I know you did. And there, all that's being said about on social media is like this. Who went down early in the game? 5 minutes in.
Oh, I only saw the second half of your game yesterday because I was
Yours,
doing. Oh,
Arsenal, Liverpool.
Saliba.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, Saliba went down, and then that adds to Kai Havertz and
yeah,
somebody else.
and
You know,
Saka.
there, Saka, the
Yeah,
big one.
yeah,
Yeah, but
that.
there,
Yeah,
Arsenal fans are acting like this is the absolute end of the world. One player goes down. If you're a winning team, you have the depth on your bench to compensate and make those results matter. I mean, it just seems like it makes that sort of kind of commentary makes Arsenal seem just absolutely fragile. If one player
I mean
goes down.
it does, but also like there are certain players within a team that make
Naturally, yeah.
yeah. So like I think about like City. Rodri went down last season. They
Yeah, that was
looked
that was a big point that you
yeah.
brought up last
Yeah.
time, in terms of City
Yeah.
competing for the league.
Yeah, and I mean with us, like 2018, 19, Van Dijk's in the team, 98 points or 97 points. Angry about that 98 points City got. 2019, 20, 99 points, win the league. 2021, Van Dijk gets injured, I think match week 4 or 5, out for the season. We like barely get fourth or third. Yeah, we got third because
Mhm.
Chelsea and Leicester were both trying to not qualify for the Champions League. Not actually, that just how it was how they were playing. Then Van Dijk comes back, 92 points, win the FA Cup and League Cup and in the Champions League final. Like when there's a key player, they really do make a huge difference. But uh, I think I mean the guy who came on to replace Saliba today played excellently. Like I was really impressed with him.
Mhm.
Um, so
I
like
mean,
yeah,
this is just me seeing the scoreline. I mean, and
yeah,
also seeing the goal. Szoboszlai absolutely hits one from distance, and it was an outstanding goal.
yeah,
And it the way I kind of read it, it did take that individual act of brilliance to get
yeah,
Liverpool that result.
yeah. I mean,
Would you say
yeah, I
that's a
think
fair assessment?
absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think that was so I we were getting better and better as the second half went on. But I mean, that was already like the 83rd minute, so it's not clear we would have scored without that. But yeah, like I think the one thing I've noticed in because I saw the Fulham game, saw the Grimsby game, and I saw the second half of the Burnham game. Mbuemo looks like a really good player.
Yeah, and so you know what, honestly, let's go ahead and rip that band-aid off
Yeah,
while it's fresh. So, the Fulham game, it was like right at the beginning, it was chance upon chance upon chance, and we just could not make any of the end of it. And then also one of my friends who's an Arsenal fan was like, yeah, Leno's a good keeper.
Leno
He
is a
is.
good keeper. I mean, Fulham has given
He's hard.
us a lot of trouble over the last 2 or 3 years.
And that's a team where they sit in the table. They're cognizant of where they stand, and they
Yeah,
certainly know how to ruin any team's day, no matter where they stand in the table. And then
they're not companies Burnley.
bingo. And then so they really frustrated us that game. And I mean, it's we were playing Bindier in our goal. I mean, that's certainly no answer. And then for conceding that goal, but the fact of the matter is, if you're a team good enough who can score, you would put that game away. We only had one goal in that game. Actually, no, we didn't even do that. That was an own goal.
Yeah,
We are
you
the
guys
first
have
team.
you
We are the
guys have
first team where
scored
our
one
first
goal in
goals
the
were
Premier
goals.
League.
Our first two goals scored in the Premier League season of 25 and 26 were own goals. And
Yeah.
then then we go on to the Burnley game, and then we get frustrated a little bit again, and then let's see, Mbuemo is looking really solid. I mean, even in the Grimsby match, which yes, got it fourth tier. I mean, the memes have been great about that. As frustrated as I
I
am,
still
there's some
love
solid memes about
Grim.
that.
My favorite is just the Grimsby keeper's interview.
I'm a United fan, so I'm only half upset.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm half fuming.
yep,
Yeah,
yep. Now that one's solid. I mean, my kind of hot take on the that match as a whole. Yeah. Am I frustrated? Certainly. this is a team you should be blowing out of the water, no problem whatsoever. But last year and even during all of Ten Hag's tenure and even Solskjaer's tenure, our problem has been keeping players healthy. Whether that's schedule congestion, which went ad nauseum about the last time we spoke, whether it's just incompetent medical staff, probably them.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, based on the way Ratcliffe has gutted everything else and the way the Glazers had invested in everything outside of the team beforehand, I can't imagine that your medical staff is top tier.
Well, so honestly, that's been just one of the big questions. It's like other teams, it's been a case of one or two players going down, and one of them will have a very long absence. The other one you're going to see back in about a month or so. It seems like every time a player has gone down, and especially big ones like Lisandro Martinez last season, and they've gone down, and it's they're out the rest of the season at a six when you're 6 months away from completing it.
I also think that because of the chaos at United over the last few years or like last decade or so, um, there are there the I mean, Amarin does not have a full squad of players he trusts. He has a I would say there are probably 8 or 9 players he absolutely trusts. There are like probably 5 or 6 players he is
You see that
questionable.
that that is a tricky one, and the reason
Yeah,
I say that is we did mention this a little bit when we were talking about the preseason friendlies and what
yeah.
Liverpool was doing and what United was doing, and so much of it there seemed to be a common narrative with United, and getting rid of the dead weight was one of the things, and everybody is unified here and there. So I don't think we can solidly put our finger on it's a trust issue in terms of like
Or
how a
maybe
system's
players who
going.
just aren't good enough or don't play the system particularly well. Because I think back to the um hang on, the 23-24 season. Um, we had a bit of an in like so that was we were in a three-way title race with City and Arsenal for a lot of the season, and we had a
Hmm.
bit of an injury crisis where like basically we were ended up like playing kids for a lot of the season, but like one of our few healthy players was McAllister. But as a result, that meant he played basically every single game.
Hmm.
And in like Klopp's system, especially when he was playing with really talented young, like 18, 19, 20-year olds who were really talented, who
Hmm.
knew the system, but who like when you're 18, 19, 20, you are in and you're playing in the Premier League, you're not gonna be at the same level player as the starters. You're often you're generally insanely talented, um, but you haven't seen all of the different stuff that's going to come at you time and time and time again, and you also don't have the physical body to be able to go into all of the challenges and just brush them off and keep going. So
And on
McAllister
the
had to
on the on
cover.
the United side of that too, also when you're talking about the system thing, Emery is playing a different system than a lot of these kids are being able to play.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I mean, how many times have we seen a 3-4-3, and
yeah.
its variants in the Premier League over the last 2 decades. I mean, these are the
I mean,
kids.
you just think
I
of
mean,
like
if they're in England,
Conte.
if yeah, exactly. That was described as a one-off. Conte
Yeah,
was being hailed as a genius for bringing the system in,
and
and
then like
making
a
it
season
go
later
like
he
that
was
way.
out.
Bingo. And
Yeah,
so, the thing is, it's like, these kids, that really is a testament to, how well can somebody truly learn this full new system that's being hailed as revolutionary. I mean, granted, the kids have grown up and seen, what they're used to seeing. But, with Emmer and what he's bringing in, it's very reminiscent. I mean, what he's trying to do is certainly similar to what Conte did, and that was hailed as revolutionary. And so,
yeah,
kids probably only they saw that for one Premier League season to see it at its full efficacy, and then after that, they're like, okay, go back 4-3-3, go back to that.
yeah. And so yeah, I mean, but it's so I think of like McAllister didn't get injured that season, but by the end of the season he was exhausted.
Yes.
Like he was absolutely exhausted and he wasn't as effective as he was at the start of the season, and we kind of lost steam. And so I feel like that's the type of thing that does happen to when you have like, so I guess There are different levels of injuries because there's when like your absolute fulcrum is injured, you're kind of fucked. But when just like your key
Naturally.
starters and rotation players
Hmm.
are out and you have to
Hmm.
increase the load on everyone else,
Hmm.
that makes it much riskier that either you're gonna
Certainly.
have different things or like you're either gonna have other players get injured or you're just gonna have players who are too tired to be effective.
Yeah. And actually I'm very curious to get this on you because while we're talking about systems, I mean, when I got two United players I really want to know your outside view on.
Yeah,
One, Mason Mount.
yeah,
I mean, I personally think that so far this season he's been stellar. I think
yeah.
he's been getting in those hard areas. He's been creating chances. And so, I'm over here just on my hands and knees praying, hoping that the boy doesn't get injured. And then the other one is Lenny Euro. So he's, obviously defender. I think he's made excellent challenges. He's also, his header there got us the own goal that put us ahead in the Fulham game. And so I think that Lenny Euro, as young as he is, I think he has the potential to really go on and be an established quality Premier League defender.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know what you think about those two particularly. I mean,
So yeah,
before you start, I know a lot of the attention has been on Cunha, who we've unfortunately just lost to injury,
yeah,
and then Brian Buemo. I will get his name right eventually. I promise I will. But those two has been just because they're the new guys who've been transferred in. Those
yeah.
who've been the focus has been on. But Mason Mount and Lenny Euro, I think those two have been excellent players so far this Premier League season for United. And so, especially as the arch rival, I would love to know what you're thinking of those two.
So I remember Klopp loved Mount and really wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were pissed when he went to you guys instead of
Kind of
coming
like,
to
kind of like
us.
Steven Gerrard talking about when Matic came to United. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like so Mount is a like Mount's pressing is so valuable and his work rate is excellent. It's like when he's healthy, he like there's not a team in England that he doesn't like honestly, there isn't a team in the world that a healthy Mason Mount doesn't play for and have a pretty important role in. Like he's that level of talent and it's I honestly like with pressing, I
Mm-hmm.
almost like because obviously like it's a skill and it's hard. Like you can obviously like but it's also it takes commitment and effort. It takes running after it takes like noticing who are the pressing triggers, who aren't. It's a lot of it
Not
is
only that, but like, especially with his unfortunate, you said it earlier,
yeah,
when he's healthy,
yeah,
that is
that's
a very important qualifier when it comes to talking about Mason Mount. And, when we're talking about his pressing, you run the risk. You are going to get injured if
yeah,
you keep pressing like that. When it comes to that point, when you have the work rate and you have the pressing capability that Mount has, it's almost not an if, it's more of a when
yeah,
the risk to body that you are encountering as a
yeah,
forward getting into those hard areas. And so I think you said it absolutely correctly, and that's what us United fans are worried about is him getting injured because so far this season he has proven to be just an excellent creative spark. And so we don't want to lose that. Certainly,
yeah.
that's how I'm viewing Mason Mount the rest of the season because I really like what I see when it comes to Mason Mount. But if he gets injured, I'm going to be like, God fucking damn it, what's
Yeah, so
gonna be
that's
what's gonna
that's
become in his absence.
I do like on like I can okay I'm I think this is going out a bit on a limb, but I think if Mason Mount was as durable as Bruno Fernandez, I am not sure that Ten Hag would have been sacked. Um, like that's I'll go
That's a
okay,
very
that's
good what if scenario, and
yeah,
I mean, Ten Hag was very hot to trot on him, and so Mason, we saw his
yeah,
capability at Chelsea, and we have yet to fully see it at United.
yeah,
And so, I hope we get to see it. But, I think Eric Ten Hag will, once we see Mason's ability on full display, he'll have that sort of degree of vindication. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, Euro seems extremely talented. I Like I I think the parts of United games and that I enjoy and the parts that you enjoy
Hmm.
are very different. Um, I tend to enjoy the catastrophic breakdowns where everything goes wrong for you guys and you
Oh, you see
concede a
that? You
goal.
see what that thing is behind me? Oh, anyway, I'm just
Um,
kidding.
yeah, but I in the I Euro is generally not involved in those moments. When you guys fuck up spectacularly, I don't think I can remember Euro being the cause of that.
You know what? I will, sorry, United fans around the world, I will be the voice for us all of a sudden. So, especially in the Burnley game, it was Dallo leaving his man unmarked. That is not an isolated incident. I know
I don't Dallo is
Dallo
I
has
don't
the
think Dallo is the type of player that you can have in the team that wants to be what United wants to be.
But when it comes to damned if you don't, damned if you do, Dallo has the ability to really press forward and create those scoring chances. It's just his defensive acumen sometimes is questionable. You know what I'm saying, Josh? And
Yeah,
I know
which
you've seen
given
it
the
for years.
position, so given the position he plays, that's kind of a big issue. Like,
It really
uh,
is, and
so
that's the reason why you'll find a good contingent of United fans saying bench him right away. And also, especially the other question that comes to United fans, and well, for me personally, Patrick Dorgu has been absolutely outstanding when he's played this season. He knows how to get those challenges. He also is rapid. That boy can run the length of the pitch, no problem whatsoever. He can create those chances. Patrick Dorgu is a stellar fullback. And so,
yeah,
you're looking at this wondering, okay, yeah, the Burnley game too. I mean, certainly one of the reasons that Amarim is looking at is like, when why is Dallo starting
yeah,
against Burnley? The other thing is we have City on the horizon, we have Chelsea on the horizon, so I
yeah.
want to believe that he was resting Patrick Dorgu to take on those heavier matches because I as the United fan in the room, I trust Patrick Dorgu to take care of the defensive work much more than I do Diogo Dallo. I mean, Dallo has performed well for the club on occasion. It's just he has those moments where he can look a little dodgy, and you're really questioning things.
Yeah. So, I guess we have some breaking news. Of Fabrizio Romano has tweeted, "Here we go, Alexander Isak to Liverpool, 130 million." Uh,
130 million to Liverpool. I mean, I tell you what. I mean, you and I were kind of game planning how we're going to talk for the rest of this
yeah,
thing, but this is certain. Let's go ahead and derail it right here and right now.
yeah, we
So,
can. Yeah.
Alexander
Well,
Isak.
actually,
I mean,
I think honestly, I think this will fit well into because we'd planned to talk about Liverpool's season, and I think we can.
how about we just go right to it? So, Josh, how do you feel as the Liverpool fan between the two of us? Alexander Isak to Liverpool for 130 million pounds. How do you feel getting Newcastle's talisman from last season?
So I'm slightly conflicted because here's the thing. Isak is spectacular. He is he is one of those players who um I don't know when you have so this is I think this is something you probably have not really felt since the days of like Vidic and Ferdinand. But when your central defenders are when one of your central defenders is Virgil van Dijk, you are generally not too worried about individual players on the other team. You're worried about moments where like Van Dijk can be taken away and like the other players can be attacked. When you're up against players like Haaland or Isak, you're like, Van Dijk is going to have a hard day. Um, like Isak, I'm a little worried about his health, and I'm also a bit worried just because I think that Ekitike can be that type of player, but
I
Isak
got
is
to
that
play
type
devil,
of player right now.
and I've really got to play devil's advocate here. When we were, on social media, what they were talking about with Isak is his attitude.
Yeah,
He's coming to the Liverpool dressing room where you guys have just won the league. Bullshit. And you
bullshit.
guys have
We walked the league.
No, sorry, my bullshit allergy was flaring up. And the thing is, that Liverpool squad is solid.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It is solid. We can't deny it. Nobody, no matter what jersey you put on, whatever badge you support, that Liverpool team is looking solid. Of course, you probably have questions about the back line looking the
Yeah.
way it does, and then the midfield. That has been raised to me from other people who support Liverpool. But somebody who publicly was saying Liverpool, Newcastle has been a hindrance to me going to Liverpool. I don't want to play for this club. The alarm bells are going off in my head when that attitude problem shows its head. I mean,
Yeah.
United for a very long time had its issue with people going to the press. I mean, just saying, the United dressing room feels this, it feels that. Do you think that you run the risk of having this attitude problem with Alexander Isak?
So I don't, for the simple reason that I think that the squad we have is um like and the leaders we have are sufficient to say to shut that down. Like I think one of the big problems
Yep.
that you guys had, especially I because I do think that Ronaldo coming back was like it was a fork in the road and it kind of the legacy of his second time when he was absolutely a diva was
Hmm.
quite harmful. And like, here's the thing, like you didn't have a leader in the dressing room who could say, Cristiano, cut that shit out. Because no one had the stature to say that. In
Yeah,
our
back in
dressing
back in the
room,
day, back in the day, for context,
yeah,
when you have Roy Keane,
yeah,
when you have all of these players who are now just, associated with United's dominance in the Premier League, you don't get away with bullshit.
yeah. So we've got Virgil, like you, if Isak tries to act up, you got Virgil van Dijk saying, Alexander, cut that shit out. You got Mo Salah saying that shit doesn't fly. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is you got so those are two players who have won everything, or I would say uh, in Salah's case, nailed on for the best in his position. I mean, I believe he's the best Premier League player ever, but at the very least, he is the best right winger in Premier League history. Van Dijk, I think, it's a tougher argument for best center back in Premier League history. But
Finish
if
has
you're
them all day. Anyway,
if you're talking about best center backs in Premier League history and you do not include Virgil van Dijk in the conversation, that
no,
is
Van Dijk, but
yeah.
in terms of like if we're talking top five or anything like that, he certainly deserves to be brought
So
up.
so that's why so like
But
there was there yeah
back on Isak.
yeah
Honestly, I just think you hit the nail on the head.
yeah
The leadership is in the room to where he will understand any of your bullshit is not going to fly in the Liverpool dressing room.
yeah
And so I think, as long as he can, avoid any of that and just stick to what he's good at,
yeah
you're going to be fine with him. And then, but I do have, the other question I have in my mind is how is he going to react playing in this Liverpool squad who, Champions League not too long ago, Premier League last year, how is he going to react to having all this pressure on him? Because you remember when Paul Pogba came to United and it was just like, look at the amount of money that has been spent to brought him in. Grealish at City, same deal. It's
yeah.
like you see the funds that have been spent on this player, and so therefore the expectations are X, Y, and Z. Do you have any concern in your mind when it comes to that?
So I think that there's actually a really telling example of why I don't, and that's Darwin Nunez. I think like and well so okay this is it's it's obviously it's up to him, but if he is out there very clearly giving his all on the pitch and he can't make it work, I think the Liverpool fans will still treat him with love. Because that would like Darwin was, I think we paid 70 something million for him, which was, I think
That
he
was
was,
big news. I
yeah,
remember that.
I think, I don't know if he was our second or third most expensive signing ever, but he was the only, I know Van Dijk was more, I don't know if he was more than Allison or not, but I think Van Dijk was the only player who had been more expensive than him. Um, and like I love Darwin. He couldn't quite make it work. And like that was quite rough, but the Liverpool fans always made sure that he felt supported when he was on the pitch. And like, yeah, sure, there were people online who were a bit more anti-Darwin, but there were also a lot of people online who were fervently pro-Darwin. And I think that is the type of, and I think once again, that's also a function of the team is functioning well, the club is functioning well, and that gives players the time to make things work. I actually think this kind of leads perfectly into Florian Wirtz, who I mean, he struggled a bit, but I think like
How old is he?
I think he's 22. He's
That's a honestly, this is one of my things that I have, and I mean, you might say it's the how
yeah,
I've seen Rasmus Højlund
yeah,
and other people. It's you know, it it is few and far between. The kids who come up who are anywhere between the age of 18 and I'd say 24 that
yeah,
are lighting things up right there. So I personally cannot pass judgment on Florian Wirtz.
yeah,
Same like how I'm like, okay, jury's open on Benjamin Sesko right away.
yeah.
And so I just do not think I can pass judgment on Florian Wirtz right now.
Yeah, no, so but I think so he was in the Bournemouth game, I think he was pretty good. I mean, he was playing some decent passes. He
Mm-hmm.
was getting in some good positions. The Newcastle game, he really struggled. I don't think he was really prepared for the
Mm-hmm.
physicality and the quickness. Like he was not given a second on the ball.
Yeah.
Um, and also, quite frankly, the rest of the team wasn't playing amazingly as well. And that all contributed to him having a pretty rough game. And then the first half against Arsenal, he was not particularly effective. But I mean, I think there's no indication he's felt anything but incredibly supported.
Yeah. And
And the second half against Arsenal, when he got a little bit more space and we had Jones making other runs and attacking. So like the defenders and defensive midfielders couldn't square on him. And all of a sudden he came alive and he started doing the type of Florian Wirtz things that made him worth a previous English transfer record. I think that has now been surpassed. So
on that note, too, also, I mean, I've not watched in its entirety the Liverpool Arsenal game up today, August
yeah,
31st. But I think,
you don't need to watch the first half.
but even if I were to, I mean, the fact of the matter is the outcome is the outcome,
Yeah,
plain and simple. So that means Florian Wirtz did not do anything that would have messed up Liverpool's chances of winning, and also it did not grant our Arsenal the chance to
yeah.
win. I mean, you might know different than me. I didn't see it on sports. But actually, so while you were talking about Fabrizio Romano saying Alexander Isak is going, I went to go watch the Crystal Palace and Aston Villa game today. There was a very notable absence from the Villa squad.
Yeah, Emiliano Martinez, who has been linked with
Yep.
you for quite some time.
So yeah, actually, so it's funny. So last season, so the links really started, and I thought this was absolutely hilarious on social media. It was when Martinez got the red card against Rasmus Højlund going on a challenge on the last match day of the season, and then he walked off the pitch. It kind of died down a little bit, but especially with us with who our number one goalkeeper choices, Anana, who during Grimsby had a very just absolutely pitiful error
I mean,
to
so
lead to
to
their
to,
goal.
to be
But
fair, second goal
took
they
a
scored
foul.
probably would have been in a like, well, okay,
Doesn't
given
matter.
the
That
quality of
error.
VAR that we saw in the Chelsea Fulham game, maybe not, but it should have been. I mean, there was no VAR in that game, but that was
I
a foul on him.
that's yeah. So I mean, especially in the Arsenal game, the United Arsenal game, there was the shoving against Bayindir, who's divided a lot of people on social media. I said bullshit. Some Arsenal fan, oh look, they did the same thing. Shut up, you're an Arsenal fan, you don't get to talk. And so the thing is, I would say Martinez. I mean, this is actually kind of what we were talking about in the first episode, where I was excited about Cunha and Embuemo because I said these are players with Premier League experience.
Yeah,
They know what it's like to go to these stadiums. They kind of know what the opposition looks like. And so, if we were to get Martinez, I mean, I certainly am going to be looking by my phone tomorrow. I mean, I'm going duck hunting with Dad tomorrow. We're going to be out in the woods, but I'm certainly going to be like, okay, do we have an Argentine goalkeeper who's won the World Cup and has a tattoo of his World Cup winning save on his leg? And so I
The
will be
leg that he
looking for
made
that
that
for
save
sure.
with.
What's that?
It's the leg he made that save with.
They, you see, and honestly, this is why even though he's not in the United shirt yet, this is why I kind of love Emiliano Martinez is just his antics between, the poles. I mean, he's throwing people off before they take a penalty. This is a guy who has Premier League experience and
Yeah,
also just to
he's
shove it to
not going to be
Arsenal.
shocked by how much the refs let him get shoved around on corners.
Oh no, and he's going to come out there flying. He knows how to defend when it comes to set piece. He'll come out there. He'll come out swinging, and then also just the fact of the matter that he'll be shouting at players when they're taking penalties. If this is going to be who United's starting goalkeeper is, I'm all for it. I love it, and but I'm still a little bit worried that I mean, actually, I'm slightly less worried than if it were someone else coming in, especially with this international break coming up because we got City right on the horizon
Yeah, and
and
you're not
Chelsea
going to
right
get to
after
train
that.
with them.
If this is a Premier League experienced keeper coming in and saying "fuck you," and I know exactly what puts you off. I've saved your penalty before. Just whatever antics he wants to throw out there, I'm all for it. So you know what? If he's going to be our new goalie, welcome to United, Emi Martinez. I well and truly hope it happens. If it doesn't, I will only be crying about it for 5 days. But we'll see.
Well, I mean, speaking of keeper transfers, it looks like Donnarumma is going to go to City, um, which I
I mean,
think,
I mean, I mean, I will say, Josh, before you go on any further, the jokes about Old Trafford may leaks, but James Trafford leaks too. Okay, yes, there is some validity to that. I think it is absolutely hilarious. But I mean, I think this is another thing we were talking about when it comes to these young players coming in the league.
yeah,
James Trafford, how old is he? 22, 23, somewhere
which
in there.
especially like in a keeper that's basically like 17.
Yeah, no, I mean, this boy's untested.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, this is the first time that the Premier League is getting to see James Trafford. And so, he might go on to do great things. I hope he doesn't because he's in City Blue. But and also Tottenham's kind of a bogey team. The bogey team is a very real thing in the Premier League. If
Oh,
you don't know who your
absolutely.
team's bogey team is, then you can get fucked and need to do some more research.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, James Trafford, I think he's allowed a little bit of leeway on this one.
Yeah. Well, so I do think City has similarly to us, City has a lot of like their back four has changed quite a bit. And like so with us, especially in the Newcastle. So I mean, I think Konate picked up a little bit of a niggle in his leg in the Bournemouth game, but I mean, there's been no reporting of that. That's just me, someone who has run for a long time, looking at how someone's stride has changed. And then um, in the Newcastle game, he was not good. Kirkes was not good. Frimpong has gotten injured, and he's only going to come back after the international break. So Sabazlai has filled, and he's been exceptional at right back. And I do think part of that is because a lot of our players are used to playing with Trent as right back, who, like, I love Trent. He can do many great things. He is not a like world-beating defender. I think Sabazlai is actually a better defender than Trent is, and Sabazlai is fast and energetic and can run all day, and he's smart. But like Kirkez was clearly still finding his feet. Konate was not playing great against Newcastle. Today against Arsenal, I mean, they had now another week to play together. They'd been a bit exposed. Slot was able to look at what happened, look at what went wrong, talk to each of them, be like, this is what isn't working. This is what we're going to change. This is how we're going to move things. I noticed Konate was relied upon a lot less to play balls. That responsibility was moved over to Van Dijk, and Kirkes didn't go up quite as much. And I think that makes sense, just getting him settled in the defensive role. Both of them were exceptional today, although Konate seems like he's also picked up another little injury, which hopefully isn't too bad. But it with defensive, I mean, we talked about this last week. With when new attackers come in, um, their lack of chemistry can kind of be papered over because they just need to have one moment in a game. With new defensive units, they have to be on it all game. And City's new defensive unit does not have their balance yet. But looking at all the individual players, they're talented. And I mean, Pep has done some pretty spectacular things as a manager. So I wouldn't write them off just yet. I mean,
No, we can't.
they're 6 points behind. So they're 6 points behind us. We have to play them twice. So that's those. We don't have a 6 point lead on them until we play them twice and we have a lead on them. We don't have a lead on them.
Yeah, and actually, so Josh, can you elaborate a little bit more on this because this was brought to me by other Liverpool fans,
Yeah.
and they were saying they're worried about the Liverpool back line and also because of how it's been reshuffled. And that goes right just what you were saying. A back line needs to be lucky all the time.
Yeah.
One striker on the opposition needs to be lucky once. Yes, I
Yeah.
know that was a quote by the IRA, but
Yeah.
it does certainly have validity to what we're talking about right now. And then also, what do you think about the Liverpool midfield? I really am curious about those because I think those are, I mean, okay, yes, I'm talking about half of what is required for you guys to
Yeah.
repeat Premier League success. And this is for any team, when you break it down
Yeah.
between goalkeeping, defense, your midfield, and your striking ability, but nonetheless, I think it bears, it needs to be spoken about. So
Uh,
what do you think in terms of you guys? And then
so
I'll give
yeah.
you my assessment of me.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about our midfield. So I'm a little worried about our number six because Gravenberg is a much better defensive midfielder than Endo can do the defensive part, but he isn't like one thing that Gravenberg does so well is he'll make a stop and then he'll make a quick turn that takes the player who had the ball out of play. And then all of a sudden that kind of generates a man advantage. And Endo is great at breaking up what's going on, but he's less astute at driving, like taking the ball and driving forward and being part of the attack as well. And then McAllister can play as a number six, but he isn't as good defensively as Gravenberg. So like that's what I'm really worried about for our because we generally play with a 6 and 8 and a 10 for the 8. McAllister, it's McAllister and Szoboszlai's natural position. And then Jones can also play it exceptionally well. So I'm not worried there. I think we have plenty of depth. For the 10, I'm also not worried at all. Verts, I think that's probably going to be Verts' position. Like even today, like McAllister wasn't great. Jones came on, was great. Because McAllister is coming back from an injury. But I think the fact that we have quite a lot of depth at the 8 position means that we can rotate a bit more and players won't get as tired or absolutely like just knackered from playing all these games that they have to play, which is, I mean, pretty soon going to be twice a week when the Champions League starts up. Um, the sorry, the Champions League is coming. I know you guys aren't in it, so you might not have been paying attention, but it's starting soon.
I think I've heard about that.
Yeah. The Yeah, and then at the 10, Verts, Szoboszlai, Jones, and Elliott. I feel for Elliott because he he is good enough to play for most teams. It's kind of unfortunate that in Liverpool for the positions he plays, the players in front of him are just like he's not going to get in, and so he does deserve to play. It's also I think a bit unfortunate that the Premier League makes so much more money than a lot of teams in a lot of leagues in Europe. That the way we value players for what they could contribute to us means that our selling prices are probably a bit too high. I think you guys have had a similar problem where like if you with the prices you want to sell your players for and the prices that feel fair, unfortunately, only other Premier League teams and like maybe like Madrid and Bayern and PSG can afford that. Which is so like we value Elliott as for at 40 million, which if we were buying for that position, we would pay 40 million for that. Unfortunately, for like RB Leipzig or like Bayer Leverkusen, they can't spend 40 million on a player, especially a player who doesn't have the proven like playing 50, 60 games a season. Um, so it's tough because he's like he wants to the World Cup is coming up and he wants to play in the England team, but he's not going to get enough minutes with us to play.
Mhm.
So I feel really bad about him because I love
Yep.
him. But I think he's gonna go. With our defense, I'm a bit worried. I'm kind of hoping there'll be another Fabrizio Romano alert that we got Guehi.
And while you were saying that, so if you saw my eyes darting around a little bit,
Yeah,
so I was trying to see if there was anything on the Emmy Martinez thing. Sorry to steal the attention,
yeah.
but the BBC's reporting that Unai after the game said the Martinez situation not helping us. And so, you and I both, we hate the British media because they're absolute dog shit. Yes, they
Yeah.
are. Um, However, if they're gonna misquote Unai Emery, that's an easy lawsuit for Villa to win. So I don't think they would misquote that. So
Um,
I'm very interested to see. I'm very interested to see where this is going to go in the coming hours. While the window remains open.
yeah, I mean, I do think I imagine that as a signal that behind the scenes he has been advocating for a move.
And
And
reportedly, that I mean, Martinez has said, it's been said that he's agreed personal terms with United. So,
yeah,
it seems to be some credence about this, and so I'm just again this is just me sitting by a computer. I mean, let's be honest. You and we've never really thought much into transfer window
yeah,
items. We see
yeah, we
what
don't
comes
have a
up
lot
here
of
and there.
insight there.
Anybody who well and truly is a supporter of their club, they know I'm not listening to anything regarding the transfer window until the club announces something.
Yeah.
And then, but I think with Fabrizio saying that there's been personal terms agreed and other things like here, I really do think there might actually be enough here to say Emi Martinez is going to be United's new number one, and I would love to see that because Anana has basically given me a million and one reasons to go to the cardiologist because he likes to not be a good ball distributing goalkeeper and likes to do stupid things.
Well,
And
honestly, I think his
Anana,
ball distribution's fine. His saving the ball. I mean, it's he
and
saves the
here
ball the way I would like more United keepers to try save the ball.
get fucked anyway. But yeah, no, he Anana, I would say, I remember way back in the day when you and I were talking about Dejan Lovren, and
Yeah.
you would say, you know what, you're going to get 80 good minutes out of him a game. It's
Yeah.
10 you have to worry about. That's
Yeah.
how I feel with Anana.
Yeah, I know. I mean that and it's unfortunate because like honestly, the way Salah has played this season, he has been you're gonna get 10 to 15 good minutes out of him. The thing is, for an attacker, that's fine. For an attacking
No,
player.
a goalie that is absolutely not
Yeah,
applicable because a
yeah,
goalie needs to be lucky all the time.
yeah. No, so that's I guess that's kind
True.
of how these things work out. But yeah, I mean, I think
Right on.
but for our defense, so Tsimikas is going on loan, but I think Robertson as a backup to Kirkez is a pretty good situation. Frimpong is obviously out now. Bradley is coming back from injury. Gomez can play all four positions. The problem is that he can't stay healthy. And so if anyone is like if someone picks up a knock in a game and is like gonna be out for the rest of the game, that is bring Gomez on, perfect. If someone is gonna be out for 3 months, you can't have Gomez playing every game for 3 months. Is I mean, like it's really sad because I think like I honestly I think Gomez is kind of like Mason Mount. Like Gomez has
If
it in
fully
him to
fit,
yeah,
the amount that they can contribute to their
yeah,
side would be stellar. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
No,
a
I
fair
mean the
assessment.
one season he was fully fit, which was the 2019-20 season. Um, he made that position next to Van Dijk his own, and he was exceptional. I mean, he's Gomez is generally like it's rare for him to play badly. It's also unfortunately rare for him to stay healthy for more than 2 or 3 months,
Yep.
especially if he's playing regularly. But so like this new Leone kid that we got, he from what I've seen of him, I really like him. The problem is he's 19. And a 19-year-old defender is the type, like, you don't want to rely on a 19-year-old defender starting every single game when you're playing twice a week. Because even if they stay healthy, and this was
They're
actually,
still 19. They're
yeah,
still untested.
but it's also like it's genuinely bad for their development. Like I think Michael Owen has talked about this, and he's saying like, yeah, he was playing from when he was like 17 onward. He was playing 70 games a season because he was Liverpool's number one choice. He was England's number one choice, and and then by the time he was 21, 22, injuries had caught up to him because he was playing a man's game in a boy's body, and that doesn't like the punishment you can take is different.
That claim for Michael Owen is certainly up for dispute because you have your Wayne Rooney's of the world, you have your
But so
other
so
players of the world,
but
but
Owen's older than like Wayne Rooney was still an Everton youth
18,
player.
16 when he scored his first.
Yeah, but I think Michael Owen is like 5, 6, 7 years older than Rooney.
I mean, you and I have spoken about sport. I mean, off of this, we've spoken
Yeah,
about sports medicine, what it
yeah,
would be
yeah.
here and there, other things like that. I mean, when we're talking about the modern era, we
Yeah, I
really,
mean, also Owen had some
that
pretty
is one thing.
spectacularly bad injuries. Like he destroyed his
Yeah,
knee.
and especially too, and especially with the younger players, like let's take your Erling Haalands of the world, Jacoby Mainoo's, and every
Yeah.
one here and there. I mean, I feel like as much as people will say, look at this young kid here and there, and no matter where sports medicine is going to be, it's on an individual basis still.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
Like
And it's
there's
also
no
like
getting around that.
yeah, and I mean there's also like especially when like and this is especially with like the younger players, when you're still growing, your bones and tendons aren't going to sort themselves out the same way as when you're fully grown.
Dr. Sack on the case.
Yeah. No, so like that's the type of like it's like a really talented teenager is super valuable, but like if they are a starting player, you're going to be in some trouble.
I mean, we're having this conversation right now with Phil Foden.
Yeah.
He was good for a long time, and then last season he was invisible, and I've not seen anything this season. So I'm definitely have my question marks about him. But let's see, Josh, how long have we been going for? How much time do you think we got remaining?
Why don't we I think we should probably just talk about the I have some stuff about Arsenal I want to say, and I think we should talk about the
Let's fly on Arsenal.
yeah.
Let's hear it, Josh.
So I think that I think and I hope this doesn't happen because I don't want to see Arsenal win the league. I think Arsenal has gone as far as they can go with Mikel Arteta as manager.
I think they have.
Because I think Arteta is in this era of football, Arteta has two fears that you cannot have as the manager of a title winning team. And those two fears are Pep Guardiola and Anfield. Um, and so like this is also I don't know if you watched the Prime series with um, Arsenal. I think it was about the
I have not.
okay. Well, so like he talks in it about how um, like when he was a player, the only time he ever froze in a game and like he couldn't understand because things were happening too quickly was at Anfield. And like that's like with the like every ground is different. Every ground has its own quirks. But especially when Liverpool is good and the game is big, Anfield is something special because it's a very small pitch and the fans are like right on the edge of it. and like especially when Liverpool's a really good team, um, then it will like it's tough. It's a tough place to play. And if your manager is scared of it, and Liverpool is one of the teams that you are going to be playing against for the title, you are not going to be going into those games to win. And I think like in the only time Arsenal has come into Anfield trying to win in the Mikel Arteta era is the first season they came second when like we were pretty bad. That was the season we came fifth. And I think our
2020 or 21, one of the two.
no, this was 20 this was 22 23. Um and like the Arsenal came to Anfield and they were up 2-0 comfortably and someone made a pretty rash tackle on Trent, and the crowd got going. And when the crowd got going, the players got going. We came back. We scored two. Salah missed a penalty, and then Konate had a shot cleared off the
I
line.
remember that. I
Yeah,
remember that.
and that was that. Honestly, like that was Arsenal had been on top of the league for basically the entire season. And that was the start of like a run of like four draws where City was able to reel them back in. And then he's afraid of Pep Guardiola because he coached under like he was Pep's assistant in
Yeah,
the
Pep knows how he's gonna operate.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
Pep knows, and he was Pep's assistant, especially like he was Pep's assistant during the 100-point season and the 98-point season. Um, and like he knows, I think he knows that he is not as good of a coach as Pep Guardiola. And so he is so I've never seen Arsenal try to win a game against Man City under Arteta. But like Arsenal has a young and talented team. They have good players everywhere and they play well together. Unfortunately, and like Arteta deserves a good deal of credit for building that team up because Arsenal was a mess before he came in. But he is now I think he's now the thing holding Arsenal back because that Arsenal team came in today hoping for a draw. Like they were the better team in the first half, but they were extremely cautious in their build-up play, and they were more focused on making sure that if we broke, we wouldn't have a man advantage than they were with getting people in good positions, which is why Gyökeres had, I think, like 7 or 8 total touches. Like,
How many hair flicks did he have? That is important for
oh,
him.
I wasn't paying attention. I was on the edge, but like, so like,
Get ready for that to be in the BBC or the Daily
yeah,
Mail's thing tomorrow.
probably, yeah. No, I mean, it was like they were, and then like, so this is also something I think Anfield has Anfield also takes a while to like work out what like the manager's play style is. And I think and Arne Slot are now kind of on the same page. And like you felt it building where the level, especially over the second half, the level of noise was rising. The Liverpool's play was getting better and better over time. And like yes, like we won because Sabazlai scored an absolute banger. Um, but the only out once from the 50, the fact that it was 0-0 at 50 minutes meant there were only two possible outcomes. And those two outcomes were Liverpool winning or a draw. And if it was going to be a draw, it was going to be David Raya having a great game. Um, and like, yeah, like Arsenal defended really well. Their midfield, like like Zubamendi is excellent. Rice is oh like they have so
Overhyped.
many exceptional players, but they don't have the like so they should be the title favorites with the players they have and the continuity they have. Um, but I don't think they have the mentality, and I think mentality is a thing that like obviously players have their own mentalities, but managers do tend to make the mentalities of their teams.
Mhm. No, it's I mean when I was bitching and moaning about the Glazers, like every United fan has,
Yeah.
shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Wherever it starts, it's going to be compounded every single level you go down,
Yeah.
just like a pyramid.
Yeah.
It's going to be that. So, Arteta is probably over there. And I mean, you know, getting new players in and even having players for a while, they could smell bullshit when it's
Yeah.
there. And so, you know, I think that is probably pretty fair to say. I mean, without having seen it, I would not doubt for a second that Arteta probably went to Anfield today to say, I'm expecting a draw. Um, but the good managers know how to be like, no, here's how we're going to change one or two things, and here's how we're going to make it win. I do not think, besides Arsenal trying witchcraft like I showed you earlier with, but actually, you know what? Segue. Why the Premier League showed the picture of Andrea Shavin at Anfield today holding up the four over there. It's like, is this Arsenal's plan to do witchcraft, or is this the Premier League on their social media has nothing better to say? I don't know, one way or the other. It's just
I think you just got to
ridiculous.
ignore that stuff. I think any time and like an older player is there in the audience, I think they're gonna try and get them in because there are like I remember Arshavin getting those 4 goals. Like I did not like, but like I when I saw that I was like, ooh,
Russian
gotta see.
bastard.
And I think that that got engagement. That just got engagement from people. But like I don't think the players saw it.
No, it's not, but and also like, yeah, for sure. I mean, I mean, I only said that jokingly. I don't
Yeah,
think it was like, this is Arsenal's plot to try to get witchcraft going. I
yeah.
mean, the thing is, Arteta should have gone in there saying we're going to win, and I mean,
Or it doesn't even have to be
that's what we see.
it's gonna be it's how we can win. Because like that was something I noticed with like um there were some like very tense games between Klopp and Pep where it was pretty clear that neither team wanted to lose, but both of them had like there were still like ideas you could see that each manager had that if things break, this is how we can get a lead. And I just didn't see that. Like there was no point where I saw Arsenal really taking a risk, even a calculated risk. Like they were just like, nope. If we score, it'll be on a set piece.
Mhm. Yeah, and also, I think with Emery, when he goes to any place, he's very overt in the media how he
Yeah.
feels. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
The last things that were being said was like something was I hate this team sometimes. I love this team. That was that was the paraphrasing from everyone else.
Yeah.
But the messaging is similar. It's like, this is a manager who's gonna go in there and saying, here's how we're gonna actually get a result from this game. And I think a lot of that, you're kind of as a if he's the United manager, this
Yeah.
comes from Sir Alex's day. There's a video on there on YouTube when he's it literally starts with him and you see Sir Alex on the touchline going just yelling, you don't know what he says, and then he
Yeah.
makes a joke. I wasn't feeling well that day, but he's
Yeah.
like, I never envisioned us losing a game. I thought once I have these players set and the system going, we're going to win this game. And so
Yeah.
I think that's what we see with Emery. And so I think, just to kind of close everything off, I think Emery, he still has a little bit of shuffling to do with everyone around there to get the system right. But ultimately, he's probably going to go in every game. I mean, especially with the Grimsby match and all this and that, he's very, very stubborn when it comes to his system.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that because of how he speaks in the media, this is a guy who's going to go to the media and say, this is how I envision us winning the game. And then after a game, if he thinks that the standard was not upheld or, if stupid mistakes were made or anything like that, you're going to hear from it. And so I think, once we come back from this very long international break, with Emi Martinez in goal and everybody else, he's going to have a little bit more tweaking to do when it comes to the overall system. But I'm very interested to see how he's going to be like, here's how my system is going to work with all these players to make a result.
Yeah. I mean, that it kind of reminds me of last season. Szoboszlai was asked about playing for slot, and he said something along the lines of, he has a plan. We know the plan. We know that we can execute the plan. And like that is once you get players on operating that way and they're like, okay, there's a plan. The manager has explained it to us and he's told us what we're going to do based on what he knows we can do. And then everything works really well out of that. It's just it takes time for things to gel. And I also think like I said this a bit last week. Um, like the vibes are Amarin's primary ally at this point, And I think part of that has to do with like identifying
That
with
was
United
definitely on
fans.
display. That was definitely
Yeah,
on display at the Fulham game and in the Burnley game
yeah,
when, the fans are just giving the thing and then like he's over there acknowledging it.
yeah,
If it wasn't that way, we would not have seen it on social media. So that is a good indicator
yeah.
right there.
But yeah, I mean, like if he had come after the Grimsby game and said anything other than these players showed what they think, and like I'm not like what it like this is really tough for me and stuff like that. I think it would fans would have been like, what the fuck is he talking about? If he had treated it as anything other than a bit of an embarrassing disaster, I think that he would have like I think the fact that he treated it that way helped him build his bond with your fans.
Yeah, I mean, especially with us, it's very hard for our team to go out on that. As much as like I said earlier in this podcast, saying, I see a silver lining in this. It's still fucking embarrassing. There's no ifs, no buts,
Yeah,
no coconuts about it. The fact of the matter is, the fact that he's over there owning up to it, it's like that. That is what I want to
yeah.
be leading my football club.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's
So
yeah, I think that's
yes,
a good place
and
to end.
yeah, Josh, I think that's a pretty good place to end there. So, I mean, hey, we got the Labor Day weekend
Yeah.
wrapping up here. We got fall weather coming up. That's why I've got my hoodie on. I'm absolutely broken when it comes to the cold. We got a
Yeah.
little bit of an international break, and then we got some pretty big games ahead of us
Yeah.
for on the United side. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get out to the beach one more time. I got hunting seasons coming up. I'm excited. Spend some time with the old man. What do you got going on that's external to the footy world?
Yeah, I mean, I am going to I'm gonna have a tight turnaround to get to our next game because I'm running the DC half marathon that morning. So
The
I
one
mean
time
it's
I'm going to cheer for something Josh likes, even though I think running is stupid.
yeah, so I'm gonna have to it's a motivation to run fast because I have to get done in time to
I will be at the absolute finish line with a cooler and just full of beers, baby. Be like, congratulations, Josh, you did it. And then even though you're going to be absolutely just unconscious over there at the end, I'm going to just force feed those beers down your throat because you're going to finish that half marathon or marathon, whichever one of the
yeah,
distances it is.
yeah, it's a half
Um,
marathon. Yeah, I'm gonna
that
finish, I'm
half
gonna get in
marathon,
an
yeah,
Uber and I'm gonna go straight to the bar.
no, honestly, I'm going to be the bar on that day. There's just going to be a core at the end, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
feeding it down there. You're just going to be absolutely plastered off only one beer, but and I'm not going to hold it against you because
I'm
you
that
did a
way
half marathon.
even if I haven't run a half marathon these days. It's quite sad. But I'm just gonna sign off from the recording and thank you guys for listening.